Kendall and Gavin in the morning.
But also whenever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in to 101.3 BKMG The Farce, coming to you live from separate places, pre-recorded. Now presenting The Bane and Mickey Show. Because, that's right, we're talking about morning shows and our favorite ones.
Yep, my favorite morning show.
Good Mythical Morning, even though I haven't watched that in years.
I was gonna say anything NPR.
Only NPR. NPR superiority.
Or no, This American Life.
Sure, that too.
On
that too.
NPR. No, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about podcasting 101. How to create a podcast. So first,
Step
you're going to
one.
get a microphone. Step 2, you're going to hit record. And step 3, you're going to talk for an hour and have no specific content. Ready,
That's
go.
us. Or at least that's how we do it. As I'm sure you can tell if you've listened to all of our episodes.
No.
Or even a handful of them.
Just kidding. We're not going to talk about how to make a podcast. There are other podcasts for that. That's not what we're for.
We're not good enough to talk about that.
Today we're going to talk about 6 seasons and a movie of
So far, just 6 seasons.
Community, the amazing sitcom.
Created by one Mr. Dan Harmon.
Homonym.
Dan Homonym.
But before we get too far into that, Gavin, have you seen anything good recently?
You know, I actually have for once. I watched the new season of Animaniacs, which was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
I finished Cowboy Bebop, the anime, and I finished Supergirl because it finally ended.
Ooh.
It was actually a decent ending. It was a little odd, but it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
As was the whole show. What have you been watching recently?
I watched, again, I rewatched, I suppose I should say. I rewatched Newsies, both versions, the recorded stage version and the original movie. Because I like both of them. Yes, the movie has Christian Bale when he's like 17. He's so small, it's cute.
He's just a wee little boy.
He's just a wee boy. It's my favorite musical. And I could talk about it for days. So, yeah.
I think
but
I've
I watched
only
them
seen it
'cause I was
one
bored.
time.
The movie or the musical?
Yeah, back when I was a wee little lad, I watched the Newsies for the first time.
Yeah.
And the only time thus far in my whole existence.
Why are we going like Irish and Scottish now?
Listen, it's just what happened.
Instead of Brooklyn.
Sometimes that's how the voice goes.
But yeah, I just was at home and wanted to watch them because I love them both. Well, okay. I like the music from the original one better. Because they made stupid changes that like are fine, but it was pointless. But the plot in the show, the musical on stage, is better because
Is it not the same?
The reporter is a woman, and we don't have Jack just pining after Davy's sister. And there's some great feminism in it compared to like the movie. And then they also slightly changed the second act a little bit, but like it's basically the same. It just has some slight character changes.
I will take your word
and
for
then
it.
some of the music is changed, but whatever.
I'll take your word for it, as I
Anyways.
have never seen the show.
Speaking of musicals, is there a musical episode? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a Glee one in season 2.
Yeah.
It's got Tara and Killam in it.
Exactly.
And there's various songs,
There are.
I think, throughout the show. Like the first one has Somewhere Out There.
Yeah. Yep.
It's pretty early on, too.
Anyways, yes, today we're going to talk about Community, of a very, very good sitcom that is no longer airing.
But is currently available on Netflix and Hulu.
Yep.
Not a sponsor.
It was started in 2009.
Whoa.
And finished
2009.
I know, so old, and finished in 2015. I don't remember. I think I started watching 2009. How old was I? I think I started watching it during season 2.
I did not watch until it's been off the air for a few years, and I kind of kept
Wow.
hearing about it.
Not a true fan. Get out of here.
And then I found it on Hulu, and I've seen it like 3 or 4 times.
Get out of here.
You get out of here.
I'm kidding. I can't remember when it was either season 2 or season 3. Like maybe season 3 had just come out when I started watching. I can't remember. But I was one of those kids who had to wait every week for the episode to come onto Hulu so you could watch it.
Did you watch it when it crashed Yahoo?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I love this show, and I always go back and rewatch episodes far too often.
No, I don't think you can ever watch some of the episodes too often.
Oh yeah.
Some you can't. You can only watch.
It's very much like me and The Office. Like I'll just watch this. I'll just repeatedly watch this from the beginning over and over and over.
It is a very good show.
Mm-hmm. It's got all of your character tropes. So it's kind of got something for everyone. It also has so many pop culture references, which I think are the best.
Danny Pudi being the most relatable character I've ever seen on television.
I think this is actually a really good show. I was thinking a really good show for like film studies.
Agreed.
Especially if you're studying a specific film, you know, like
Goodfellas.
Yeah. Then you go watch the episode and be like, oh, how well did you pay attention to Goodfellas or whatever?
Goodfellas, My Dinner with Andre.
Uh-huh. I was just watching the one that was referencing MASH. It's pretty good. But then also they do a lot of homage episodes about like different styles of things. They have their documentary episode for Pillow and Blankets. They have the ones where Abed is making documentaries. They have their, your war film, action film with all the paintball ones, your spaghetti western,
sci-fis.
You got your mob crime family one.
There's tons.
Musicals. Yeah, so it is a really good study of for film. And
not to be mistaken with parody. This is homage.
Yeah.
Because parodies, they're not really making fun of it. They're sort of paying homage to all these tropes.
Yeah, I would say the one parody would maybe be like the kind of D&D, but I don't really I don't know.
It's not really a parody.
It's still more homage. Yeah, you're right. Well, what about the one Christmas one where it's basically like Rudolph style?
Again, I would throw that in the category of homage because they're not like, this is stupid. Yeah. They're more like, this is cool. Look at this cool stuff we can do.
And they're not specifically...
While also poking a little bit of fun at it.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, in studying... Yeah, using this as a good study for film, I actually used Community for my comedy study for
the TV class.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I did 2 of my favorite episodes, which I listed. I did Modern Warfare, which is the first paintball one, and I did Basic Rocket Science, which is when they have the simulator one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then I wrote a cold open because we had to write scenes for our whatever. I wrote a cold open, and
you know what's really interesting is I didn't. So you remember how later on the school board guys become more prominent?
Yeah.
They actually show up in that one.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they've been in it
bring
for
them
kind
back.
of a while.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Speaking of favorites and least favorites, should we do a preface? I suppose if you're listening, okay. I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you are listening because you know Community and you want to hear our thoughts on it. But there are some people that like to just listen to us talk about dumb shit. So for those of you who don't know what Community is, here's a little brief synopsis. It takes place in a community college.
In Colorado, called Greendale.
And it follows along a group of 7 students of varying ages and backgrounds, and they're initially a study group for their Spanish class, but they get into all sorts of misadventures.
They're always a study group until season 5, but then they sort of just don't really ever study, which is brought up several times.
The show quoted synopsis or quotes it at the college as eccentric. in both the staff and student body, which is like there's just really weird characters. They really play off of this whole basis of like community college being like the worst option, which it's not. Community, there's actually some great community colleges, but that's where it's kind of like,
I would go to this community college,
yeah,
for sure.
but that's where it's kind of like playing the joke off of is like they all are for whatever reason going to a community college and find themselves with classes that are maybe less ideal or like trying to really not cheat their way, but like squeeze their way by, or then their school breaks out into a paintball war and it's apocalyptic and whatever.
You know what I've noticed in my many rewatches is that it's sort of the perfect blend of like high school stuff and college stuff, because they have like lockers and it seems a lot like a high school, but you couldn't do half of this stuff because they'd be teenagers.
Yeah.
But since they're in a college, you can get away with a lot more stuff.
Well, but
if they were in like a real college, I feel like it wouldn't work nearly as well.
Exactly, especially since it's like a community college. There's not a lot of like discipline or like rules, basically, because no one lives on campus. No one's like full time really. It's like really, there's just a lot of free reign as to what goes on at the college, which I think is because it's they can get away with that because it's a community college, or in the show.
No, there are dorms, because that's where
there are dorms. Yes, there are dorms, but but they kind of like, there's just no structure for the college, which allows it to just be chaotic all the time. Like you expect that to be normal. An episode starts off and you're like, oh, it's kind of a normal experience. And then it's wacky. All of a sudden there's a conspiracy theory and none of them believe their lives are true. Like,
it's true. But that's like the biggest thing I've noticed is like, you couldn't set it in a college because it's too constricting. Same with like a high school, because it feels very much like a high school, but then you wouldn't get the same amount of diversity and diverse backgrounds. I feel like.
Well, and then even also the classes that are offered, like, and then there's like events that go on for like days at a time, which would not happen. You would not be able to get, away. Also,
plus there's like 30 school dances.
Yeah, and then there's the fact that the dean has no idea what he's doing. So, but it's really great because every episode title is like based on like a class title. So there's like intro to
seems class like.
Yeah, intro to anthropology, basic rocket
Spanish
science,
101,
critical film studies, so it's really fun also to have those episode titles. It's a really smart show. It's just really smartly written in like very small references, and even just the titles and the way they homage so many things. It's so brilliant.
And the other thing is, Dan Harmon, you might also know, is doing Rick and Morty, which you feel a lot of that flow through in that as well.
Yeah.
So, that's another example of it. There's actually a really funny community joke in Rick and Morty where Rick is like on this planet that's basically controlling all these people, and he's like, cancel them, not make them have sex, bring them back, cancel them again. And then it cuts to the TV and it looks like Community.
And Rick and Morty started after Dan Harmon left Community. Right?
Did it start right after?
It started in 2013. So when did we lose? Yeah, Dan Harmon was season 3, or season 4. So it was right about when he left, which is fine. He moved to, more things, which is that happens all the time.
But then he came back, and that's the important
thing. I was gonna say, unfortunately, when he left, some of it kind of went down the hill a little bit with some of the seasons. But, that's fine.
Well, he only left for the one season.
Yeah.
And then he comes back for season 5. And I still think season 4 is okay, but I agree, it's definitely not the best one. Mm-hmm. But I feel like once we get back into season 5, it definitely sort of refines its footing.
It does.
But, we have lots of very familiar faces now.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing is, like, I originally know Donald Glover from Community. Mm-hmm. Now, let me clarify. Donald Glover is
Childish Gambino.
Is Childish Gambino, which everyone's like, oh, it's Childish Gambino. And I'm like, no, it's Troy Barnes. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's Donald Glover. And they're like, who? And I'm like, oh, God.
I think the first thing I actually saw of his was his stand-up special that was on Netflix. People are like, he's going to do Troy Nobet. He's going to do Troy Nobet. And then I'm up here and I'm like, dicks.
Yeah.
He's too talented. I sort of hate him.
And then we have Joel McHale, who's actually from Washington. He's from the northern Seattle area.
Yay, Joel McHale.
Yay, Joel McHale.
You might have heard of him from one of his numerous shows, or him being mean to Ken Jeong on The Masked Singer.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, Ken Jeong is on The Masked Singer, which I love. I don't watch The Masked Singer regularly, but I've watched a couple episodes with like Tina and Emily, and then I was like, oh my god, Ken Jeong.
There's some pretty good celebrities on there. This season they've been sort of lame.
Chevy Chase is on Community. Jillian Jacobs. Allison Brie is Gillian. Oh yeah.
It's Gillian Jacobs.
Allison Brie was just in a movie.
Well, she was also on Mad Men at the time too. So she was doing 2 shows.
No, so I know, but she was just in. Oh no! I'm thinking of Gillian Jacobs. Gillian Jacobs was just in a movie, and she dyed her hair, and I was like, "What the heck?"
She was also in that show. Oh yeah,
Love. she's in Fear Street, but she's also in something else. Why? Good lord, she's a lot of stuff.
She's a very busy gal.
Apparently.
Well, she did that show Love. Oh, that's right. She was the voice on Invincible. She was the voice of Harley Quinn in the animated Injustice. Are you sure it wasn't just Fear Street?
It might have been
or Mark, Mary, and some other people.
It might have been Fear Street, but I'm pretty sure that I saw a trailer where one of them was. I don't know.
But Allison Brie does a lot of shit now too.
Yvette Nicole Brown has been doing stuff for decades.
I don't know if she does. Oh, she still does stuff. I don't know why I'm saying that. Yeah, she's still in things.
She is a SHIELD agent in Endgame. She does a lot of TV shows.
Allison Brie was in Happiest Season. That's her most recent movie, anyways, that's come out. But she is working on something with Dave Franco. Directing. Who she is married to.
And then Danny Pudi is amazing. I love him so much. He does a lot of TV show, but he's done like you'll see him. He makes little like not even cameos, but appearances. Like he's in Civil War.
Yep.
He's in.
There's been a lot of community actors.
He's in
the MCU.
Star Trek. He's in Star Wars. I'm pretty sure as well. Maybe.
Fun fact, do you know why there's so many community actors in the Captain America / Avengers movies?
Why?
Because the Russo brothers directed the pilot and several of the first few seasons.
Oh my god. Amazing. Yeah, because Donald Glover is in Spider-Man Far From Home. No, not Far From Home. Homecoming. He's also in The Martian.
Oh my god, he's so good in The Martian.
And then Chevy Chase is like an actor from the 70s and 80s that like all of your parents would know.
Really done anything recently? He did the Vacation movie, I think.
Yeah, he's in
that's the last thing I know of.
Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot, which is fine. He's like, I don't know, he's
really old.
Dude, he's like 80.
That's not surprising, and he's kind of a dick from what I've heard.
That's fair.
Or he's kind of difficult to work with.
And then you get a bunch of like, Jim Rash plays the dean, but then you get a bunch of like, you get various like, cameo star episodes. I just watched one with Jack Black and Owen Wilson.
Jack Black, Owen Wilson.
LeVar Burton comes on for an episode. It's really funny.
2 episodes.
We get who's the John Oliver. Makes various appearances, which is great.
Jonathan Banks. Keith David, Paget Brewster, John Goodman.
Yeah, some great.
The guy who plays Lee Jordan from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Pop.
Oh my gosh.
I also learned through Michael Rosenbaum's podcast that he was up for the role of Jeff.
Oh really? Community. Ooh.
Yes. So it almost was Michael Rosenbaum. And no disrespect to Rosenbaum because I love him, but Joel McHale was the right choice.
Oh, Joel McHale. Yeah, no, for sure. It was all cast very well, although not against Gillian Jacobs. I just don't like Britta as much. She's probably not my favorite. I think she plays it fine.
I feel like the problem with Britta is they sort of ruined her. And they made her sort of this ditzy, annoying nothing that all she does is, fuck up, be terrible at activism.
They kind of
like in the first few episodes,
she's like throw away her character, which is unfortunate.
Like I really like her in the first few episodes and most of that first season.
Brie Larson makes an appearance in a couple episodes.
She just sort of she ends up getting together with Abed.
Yeah.
And she's great too.
Patton Oswalt comes in a couple times.
Yep.
Nathan Fillion comes on.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was gonna say, did you know that Starburns, the actor that plays Starburns, has the coolest name ever? Dino Stamatopoulos.
He also was a writer on the show.
I want that name.
Robert Patrick was in an episode.
But yeah, they're all. It's all like Danny Pudi and Donald Glover, amazing pair.
One of the best duos.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony Hale's in an episode. He's in the pottery one. There's everyone, my blueberries. Oh, shoot. What's his name? He's the one of the other announcers in Pitch Perfect. John Michael Higgins.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know Pitch Perfect.
It's how I was going to remember it. John Michael Higgins.
Yeah. I was going to say, what are some of your favorite episodes?
Almost the whole first season, honestly.
The first season has a really good. But
the pilot, the pen episode, the bottle episode, in season 2.
Modern Warfare, we get our first paintball episode.
That's what I would say is the best one.
Oh yeah, Modern Warfare is one of. I don't think I have a favorite. I have multiple favorites. Modern Warfare is definitely up there, and same with Pillows and Blankets.
I think probably my favorite is Remedial Chaos Theory, just because that's sort of my jam.
That's the one everyone knows from the meme of Troy walking in with a pizza box and the whole room is on fire. Yes. Amazing.
The whole time me and Brie watched, she was just waiting for that episode because she knew that meme. Yeah. The conspiracy theory one is really good. Yep. The bittersweet leaving of Donald and geothermal escapism in season 5.
I would critical film studies, which is when Abed Abed is always making like movie pop culture references, and critical film studies he does like it's what's the movie called?
My Dinner with Andre?
No, the other one that they all think they all are trying to make a birthday party for him.
Pulp Fiction. Ends up being My Dinner with Andre, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some.
That's actually a pretty good movie if you ever get a chance. Is. Contemporary American Poultry, the Goodfellas one with the chicken. Yep. And this might be a controversial choice to some, but I like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which was the first Dungeons and Dragons episode that is no longer available on streaming. Mm-hmm. But we'll get into that a little later on.
And then some of our least favorite episodes.
And to be fair, they're all decent. It's just these are less.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're just sort of a little meh.
And sometimes they have one or two good moments, and then the rest of it's rah. Blech. Intermediate Season documentary filmmaking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. A lot of the Pierce ones, like you were saying, are sort of. Because I feel like the problem with those Pierce ones is they're sort of hit and miss.
They're trying to give him a redemption arc, and it just doesn't.
Well, they give him the redemption, and I'd be okay with the redemption if they followed through with it in any way that didn't just sort of undermine it or not really come to effect later on. Yeah. In a lot of those, you get these moments like, oh my gosh, Pierce is so misunderstood, and I feel bad for him. I can't wait to see how his character is going to change, and then it doesn't.
and then it just,
that's the more frustrating part for me. I don't really like the finale of season 1. It is very weird because it's the stats professor is like, oh my gosh, Jeff, I love you, and Britta's like, I love you, and then he goes and makes out with Annie, who is 18 or 19. Yeah. Their whole thing is very odd. I also don't like the second to last episode of the whole show. It's one of those things that's very frustrating when I'm watching a show and their second to last episode feels like it has nothing to do, like in no way it leads into the finale at all.
Uh-huh.
Like
it's just another episode, and you're like, well, right. Why don't you try and work on, while you're ending the show?
Ending the show.
Make
like
it
that one. Plus, it was the incest one, and I didn't care for that either.
Yeah.
There's that, like that one. Psych did it.
Uh-huh.
What was I watching? Some other show I just watched recently sort of did it too, and I was like, why?
Well, and sometimes isn't that like they don't know they're being canceled, and then they have to like come up with a.
Well, the thing is, like for this one, it seems like they were going to be done no matter what.
Yeah.
So, don't do that. Psych, I feel like, was sort of the same thing. Like they knew they were going to be done, so why not just lead into the end?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because then it feels like the ending is a little more rushed,
Yeah.
But it's more of my grievances have to do with the content of the episode and not the relationship to the finale. I'm surprised you don't like the video game episode, other than it being sort of out of place.
It's like, I mostly don't like it because it's one of the Pierce-oriented ones, but it's like, I do like the design of it and the 8-bit, and I think that's really clever, but I think just the content of it is like, I could care less.
Yeah, that is one thing. They do a lot of very creative episodes. Like, I don't particularly care for G.I. Jeff, story-wise, but I mean, I like the design and everything of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the way they sort of weave it into the story is generally pretty interesting. So,
yeah.
I can sort of get behind it. It's just, it's not my favorite.
Yeah, it is really cool how they weave in these, like, especially when they go with the animated ones or I mean, basically any homage, really, how they weave that into the storyline. Some of them more chaotic than others of how they get there.
Some of them done
but
better than others.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, let's go like seasons by season. So there's 6 seasons. You'll hear the joke reference 6 seasons in a movie because they always knew they were going to do 6 seasons and they have always wanted to do a movie.
But they didn't know they were going to always get 6 seasons. I think that started in season, I want to say 2, maybe
Was it 2?
3?
I thought Abed says it in season 1.
He might. I don't remember. No, let's see. I think it's season 3, I feel like, is the first reference because there's that show The Cape. And Abed's a fan of it. They're doing a flashback when they're in the psychiatry room. Abed takes his cape, knocks all Jeff's food down, runs away. Jeff says something about the cape not lasting more than a season, and Abed says 6 seasons in a movie!
Yeah. I want to say, though, he says it in season 1, but that might also just be like a joke that then could, they brought it back as it was carried on. I might be wrong.
It does just sort of carry on throughout the whole show. Like, you keep hearing the phrase 6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah.
Which is odd because they got canceled and brought back so many times.
Exactly.
So it's honestly surprising they ended up getting 6 seasons.
And they have really been wanting to do a movie. Dan Harmon's been working on ideas. They did a short script reading, but it wasn't like a movie. It was just a thing.
The live reading.
Yeah, and then, the cast is very busy doing stuff. Like, it's hard to get them together. It's kind of like with Psych, how, they getting everyone together for the movies. But
those have been happening. And the third one actually comes out this week.
It does. I'm excited. But yeah.
By the time this airs, it'll already have been out. But ignoring that. Though a lot of the stuff but a lot of stuff I've been seeing is like, it seems more possible, and like Dan Harmon is working on ideas.
Yeah.
Everybody that was on the show is pretty much on board to do it.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, they got Donald for the live read.
Figuring out the time to do it and having the script and everything. It's not really a matter of getting people to agree, but so season 1 is it's a pretty strong first season for a show, which I think is what keeps it going. It's directed. A lot of the episodes are directed by the Russo brothers. Dan Harmon is a great writer.
The cast has a really good dynamic.
Yeah. And it's quirky. It's new. It's kind of like The Office in a way with all the different character dynamics and you're setting them in this weird, wild atmosphere, and they just have to deal with it. But it's more over the top than The Office.
And I feel like the show finds its footing really quickly.
It does. Especially considering there's only... Well, no, the first season does have 20 episodes. I was going to say...
25.
Yeah, I was going to say the later seasons don't have as many episodes.
But, I mean, it's established, so it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah. But yeah, it's got some of the best episodes, especially the episodes that have, like, sequels. You know, like the paintball ones. It's one of the best paintball ones. It has the first D&D one. It had...
No, that's season 2.
Oh, that's season 2. It has some really great setups. You get setups for a lot of characters too that come back later. Like you meet some characters that don't come back until later, which is
the Beetlejuice gag.
Oh,
But that doesn't pay off till season 3.
And then season 2 is also pretty strong. Good. Yeah.
First 2 seasons are pretty good. We get Betty White. The Claymation Christmas, a lot more homage. The D&D episode that does not exist anymore.
Yeah, we get the reoccurring episodes. We start getting the reoccurring paintball
documentary episode.
Continuing with Abed's filmmaking career.
Is that the Jesus season 2?
I think so.
The Jesus movie?
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that one or hate that one.
I know, right? Season 3 is okay. It has this weird AC repair school arc with Troy.
That's not my least favorite season, but it's the wildest season for sure, because you have the AC repair thing, you have Chang becoming a dictator.
Yeah.
But you do get Remedial Chaos Theory and the Hearts of Darkness and the Pillow and Blankets ones. So.
You have good episodes, scattered in between. I think the AC repair school arc is really just like random, in my opinion. But it's fine. It has good moments for it. It's just sometimes it's like, I don't want to watch Troy at AC repair school. I care about the whole group. I love
but it was interesting.
Yeah. Season 4, Dan Harmon left for
he got fired. He didn't leave.
Well,
he got fired.
Potato, but yeah.
It's not the same. Leaving is like, I'm going to go do other stuff.
Okay.
Getting fired is like, get the fuck out.
He got fired. Was it after season 3? When was the first time they got canceled? Was it after season 3?
I want to say season 4.
It was season 4? When Dan Harmon was gone?
Well, he got fired, and then I'm pretty sure they were going to get canceled, but then Joel McHale was like, hey, bring him back.
Oh, yeah.
So then but they did end up getting canceled. Then they got
picked up
for season 5. I think they were like canceled and then brought back because they got Dan Harmon or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they got canceled again for good at the end of season 5, but then Yahoo brought them back for season 6, and then they broke Yahoo.
Amazing. Do you know why Dan Harmon was fired?
Creative differences, and sort of the reason Chevy Chase ends up leaving, getting fired, because he was sort of difficult to work with.
Here's the thing. When the creator has creative differences, I feel like you should listen to the creator.
Why?
Just my opinion, but,
why would you want to listen to him? What does he know? He only made the show.
I know.
Idiot.
So season 4 kind of loses itself a little bit. Understandable, because the creator, head writer isn't there. Wow. Gee, wonder how that works.
It's often referred to as the gas leak season.
Uh-huh.
But Jeff and Pierce do graduate after 4 years, which I liked and found a little surprising, because it very easily could have just been like, they just keep going to school till the show's ended or something.
I do like...
But this is also when Chevy like quit or got fired or something like that, because he's barely in the show.
I do like how the show does follow that school arc, where every season is a different year. It kind of goes along with the community college and the episode titles and everything. And then the fact that Jeff finally graduates, which has been kind of the big arc for him, is that he's just trying to get out of here, out of the school.
Right. And I like that they didn't try to force it and make it like, oh, well, you had something to go wrong, so now you have to be here for longer.
Yeah.
And they brought it back in a more logical way.
Yep, and then this season is also shorter. It's only 13 episodes, which happens often when you have writers leaving or seasons being canceled because, well, they don't want the show to continue for whatever reason. So then we get into season 5, and
hold on, just backing up. I just don't like the Chang subplot where he has Changnesia.
oh yeah, I don't like that either. It's really
that's
weird.
probably my least favorite part of the season.
Also because the fact of like, is it real? Is it not real? Blah blah blah. And if it was real, great, fine. It's an I don't know, an interesting approach. But if done well, good representation. But since it's also, it is fake, but it's just poorly represented. I don't know. It's just weird.
Though we do get the partner in Houlihan's investigation, which is
yeah.
I'm her partner. What are you hiding? Now don't fly off the handle. What are you hiding?
Oh my gosh. And then so season 5, we lose Donald Glover.
We lose
Chevy Chase.
We get Buzz Hickey. That's played by Jonathan Banks.
We get the repilot, which is fun. They're like, okay, time to restart. And Jeff.
That's actually, I remember.
Isn't this Jeff comes back as a teacher? Is that?
Well, first he's trying to save the school, but then he can't be hired as a school saver, so he ends up being a teacher. But I do remember this scene, the opening scene with the commercial, because it was the first time I ever actually saw Community on TV, so it's burned in my memory forever.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, they do a good job of bringing Jeff back because he's, I would say, the main character, but also, I mean, it's about the group, but it did start with Jeff, so he's kind of the lead character. I don't know. You do get a fair amount of good episodes this season. I would say after being canceled and brought back and everything, I would say as a later season, it's not the worst for a TV show. I've seen worse later seasons.
It was, yeah, for sure. Because then, we get another D&D episode. There's this threat of the school board, which honestly makes a little more sense considering how shitty the school is, relatively speaking.
You have the whole thing where Abed has an existential crisis about Nicolas Cage. Amazing.
Oh my god, that's the best. That's probably one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. One of his best performances. I'm a cat. I'm a sexy cat.
What else do we have?
We get the geothermal escapism, which we've talked about a few times already, but that's when Troy leaves and he goes on the boat with LeVar Burton. It's very emotional, but it's a very good episode.
Duncan comes back a little more regular. Well, he comes back a little more regular earlier, season 3, right?
Who?
Duncan.
Oh, no, he doesn't come back until this season. He's in the first season. He shows a little.
Yeah, he has little appearances, but he's more regular.
But he doesn't come back until this season when they brought back Dan Harmon. Because that was the only reason he really was on the show, was because of Dan Harmon.
Fair.
But then he comes back pretty regularly in this one, and then he kind of shows up in season 6, maybe, but not a lot.
So season 6.
That's when we lose Shirley, a.k.a. Yvette Nicole Brown. But for a sad reason, because she had to go take care of her.
We get what's her name dad, from Criminal Minds.
Paget Brewster.
And
then we get Keith David as Elroy Potashnik.
Yeah.
The fucking VR thing. Worlds within worlds.
I know. I was going to say the VR episode. You get the weird, Star Wars episode.
I don't even know if it's a Star Wars. I don't know. It's very weird, but they're making a really shitty sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
I like
amazing.
That one. I like in the end when Chang's in the booth and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Spielberg."
Yeah. We get another paintball episode.
So do you remember when the roof collapsed from the Frisbees? Do you know why they had to do that?
Because the roof actually collapsed? I don't know.
Well, so when they went to Yahoo, the new stage for the cafeteria had a pillar in the middle, so they had to explain it somehow. So they collapsed the roof.
Amazing.
In the show.
Amazing. See, these things
like tears
happen.
in the rain.
These things happen. And then we get the finale episode where they're kind of like, oh, we know we're ending, so here's some nostalgia.
I thought it was a really interesting finale episode. It was very unique in a lot of ways. Because, we get a lot of these possible, like, well, what if we did come back? How would we do that? And things like that.
They're kind of like, please, someone pick us up again.
But also sort of acknowledging that, like, we're not coming back.
Yeah.
It's not really going to work if we keep trying to do this.
It's a lot better when shows know ahead of time that they're ending and can actually make a decent closure episode for the fans. Instead of just
slapdashing it.
Or if not even knowing and it just ends and you're left on a cliffhanger and you're like, what the fuck?
Oof, I hate that.
But
that happened with Whiskey Cavalier. Yeah. That was a really good show.
Yeah. But fortunately, Community, and Community had so many like close call savior moments too. It's like, they're like, okay, we finally know it's happening, so we're going to do it right.
But to their credit, they always ended. Starting with season 4 or 5. They always ended when you could be like, well, if they don't come back, they don't come back.
Yeah, like, oh, Jeff graduated, the end,
Or, a meteor's going to... And if we don't come back, that means a meteor crashed on the Earth, destroying everything.
Yep.
And that's canon.
Exactly. It's pretty good show overall. There are controversial moments, and it's also very liberal. So if you're not so liberal, you might take offense to some of the things, but it's whatever. Take it in a light heart.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of the controversy is... All right, so we can get into this one. I feel like the removal of their quote-unquote blackface episode was a mistake. Partially because it was in no way blackface, other than his face was black. But it was representation of a mythical creature and not any way a caricature of a black person or black culture.
Yeah.
So I think that was messed up, especially when the episode highlights a lot of, like, bullying and depression and helping people kind of things.
Yeah, it does have good story and undertones and writing for it. Yeah, and that does bring up, like, blackface is a very awful, terrible thing to do, and it does bring up the, like, at what point does it become blackface, or even, like, people do yellowface, which
also terrible. They have yellowface, like Pierce does fucking yellowface hand puppets, but that stays in.
Yeah.
Or like Indian brownface, like they do that in 30 Rock. They did it in this show too with the Swami.
Yeah. So
like that I would take out. But no.
Yeah, I think better choices could have been made, because then it's also like, well, what is this saying about bullying and depression, and like, like, what are you supporting or not? I don't know. It's, yeah. Unfortunately, we can't tell you to go watch that episode and decide for yourself unless you find a DVD of the show, because you can't watch it on streaming.
But the other thing is, like, if you look at the other shows that did it, like 30 Rock and Scrubs, so I've noticed that Scrubs, they actually edited their blackface out now, and they put the episode back.
I was going to say, that's a choice that, they could make for Community, is to...
Because, the part with Chang is not that long. However, but, and, like, the ones that it happens in 30 Rock, they're also not that important in any way.
Yeah.
They're just sort of regular workaday episodes, but I feel like this one specifically is saying something that should be said, and I feel like taking it out in its entirety was a mistake. But that's just me.
Yeah, or even just taking that scene out or something. There is another controversy would be like the Jeff and Annie arc, which is a little weird because Annie's like 19.
She's 18 when the show starts,
and they get together in like season
kind of
1.
They sort of have a whole thing throughout the whole show. Well, they kiss at the end of season 1, then they sort of have a flirty thing in season 2, and throughout the rest of the show, and then he kisses her when he leaves.
Yeah, and look, age difference is fine. But when it's very close on the line of, like, the younger person still being very, very young, like, it just gets questionable. And then also just the way their relationship goes.
Right. And I feel like some of the other I think it's good they don't get together.
Uh-huh.
And I think the other problem you run into with age differences at that young is you also kind of want to look at how long have they known each other
Uh-huh.
and how involved in their lives were. Like you could make a case where it's like they only knew each other then, so it's not like he knew her when she was a kid or anything.
Right.
I don't know if that makes it better, but there's a part where it makes it for sure less creepy and
Yeah.
not like grooming.
Yeah. Yeah, because in no way is he grooming her or anything. It's, I don't know. I mean, and there are just like, I feel like questionable or weird relationships anyways.
But I feel like the other thing is ultimately it shows to Jeff's character, despite being something of a player slash horn dog, that he never really gets together with her in any way. Except for in the darkest timeline where he's an ostensible asshole.
Yeah.
So,
and even she is like not herself either. She's
right, and,
in that darkest timeline.
Saying that maybe this is a darkest timeline only thing, and Jeff would never really do that, which, I ultimately think it's a testament to Jeff's character that despite all of his failings, he's not going to do that because he knows the implications, and it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. And then we have Pierce Hawthorne, who is a very controversial character. He's very racist and sexist and homophobic and
all the obics.
Yeah. And it's undesirable. And kind of annoying after a while.
And it's very hard because obviously the main joke is that he's a product of another time and he's very old, so that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what you should be laughing
and like
at,
none of the characters support him in, at least they all react accordingly to being like, why do you have to do that? But it's still like, why do we even have to do that?
Yeah. It sort of feels like a backdoor to getting away with saying some of that stuff. Like, he's old, but we can say it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, overall, not a ton of rants. Rants would be like little things, like, like one-time things. It does get rocky in the middle with writer changes in season 4 and stuff. I'm not really a big fan of Britta's character, but that's kind of fun. You're saying how she kind of they kind of dumb her down. They kind of just like don't take advantage of her character, and she doesn't really get any character development.
Yeah, I feel like that was
like with like Troy and Abed, you definitely get character growth. Same with Shirley, not really with Pierce. Like it doesn't really happen, but. And Annie gets some growth, but like that Britta never really does. She's kind of like Pearson where she has growth and then just backtracks.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to watch. Just because like Britta's really good initially in the first few episodes and then she just sort of goes to
Well, and I would even say people like Duncan has some growth and Dean has some growth.
Yeah.
But then you also say that you just don't really. Chang is really all over the place. Chang is also
really
not my favorite.
Growth. He just goes everywhere.
Yeah, and he has a lot of regression as well. Like,
well, because he's good in the first. Like, I mean, they even make a joke about it. It's like, you were a teacher here, yeah, and frankly, I haven't been utilized well since.
Yeah, because the best part, I think his best arc is season 1 when he's their Spanish teacher.
And then they bring him back as a teacher again in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of are just rewriting the last couple seasons. And I feel like it would have been... I didn't actually mind it too much in season 2 when they made him a student.
Right.
So he almost has a little more reason to keep interacting with them since they're not in Spanish anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like, that works okay, but they should have kept it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like after season 2, when he's not a student anymore, and they sort of throw him off the deep end, and like, we do whatever we want with Chang. And then they have to backtrack in season 5.
Yeah.
But specifically for me, it's the Chang-Nisha arc that...
Yeah, and we kind of talked on that earlier. Yeah, it's just weird, and it's all over the place, and so there's no specific representation of what it's actually supposed to be.
Right.
Therefore... So, yeah. I mean, overall, I think favorite characters for me for sure are Troy and Abed. Jeff is pretty good just because he's the most like serious of them in that like I would say serious like normal. Like he's just trying to get by and has to deal with all this bullshit. Like my favorite part is in Modern Warfare where he's like, I'm going to go take a nap. And he literally just wakes up to the campus being destroyed and apocalyptic. And he's like, what the hell is going on? And then Troy's like, oh, Jeff, you bastard. I thought you were dead. And he's like, dude, I was taking a nap. So like, it would
have been funnier if we focused a little more on Jeff just to like, and his reactions to all the shit that goes on around him. I mean, we do a bit, but I think you're right. It's just funnier watching him go through this wacky ass world. Like, what the wonderland did I walk into?
Well, and another one would be Pillows and Blankets when he has to come like resolve the problem, and then he's like, "Yeah, no, he took the time to actually, do it,
to actually walk back." But it's still good stuff. It's a good show.
It is.
Despite some of its failings, I think overall it still holds up. It's still really well written.
And it's something you can always go back to and just constantly watch. Amazing. Yeah. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old.
Moments and parts of it do get old, but I feel like the overall stuff makes it up for it in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. And even at that point, you just get to hop around and watch your favorite episodes because it is one of those shows where you don't necessarily knowing the overall arc for some things is good for like character introductions and character interactions, but for the most part, you can just kind of hop around and
do whatever the hell you want.
Vibe your life, yeah.
Exactly.
Should we do some random topics?
We shall.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Preferred instrument.
That I can play or that I would like to play?
Or that you maybe like to listen to? I don't know. It doesn't specify.
Violin.
Violin.
I should have learned the violin instead of the cello.
Oh. Is it just a little more mobile?
I guess a little bit. But I just like the sound of the violin.
Violins are so pretty, yeah.
Dance around and fiddle.
Yeah, violins are really beautiful. Everyone's always like, it hurts my ears. And I'm like, that's because they're not playing it right. Like, or they're a very amateur like player. Like, they just need to practice. Yeah. Yeah, oboes are also really pretty.
They just, I knew a guy, so when I was in band, I was playing sax, but there was one guy, he came in partway through the year, but he started playing oboe. And they were like, it sounds like a duck call. And it literally sounds like a duck call.
Yeah.
Until you learn how to play it right.
Yeah, it's
then
very
it sounds
beautiful.
A little more like a clarinet.
Yeah. What would be your preferred instrument to listen to?
I mean, I like a lot of the string instruments. I need to learn how to play my bass. I mean, I like a lot of pretty much any string instrument. Horns are okay, but I feel like they're only good in moderation and at a low volume.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. My preferred...
Like, I couldn't listen to just horns, but I could listen to just strings.
Yeah, like, I could listen to, like, a bugle or a French horn, maybe, some of the quieter ones, but, God, brass is... also, I was gonna say, so my preferred instrument is percussion. I love, especially, auxiliary percussion, because you just play, like, random shit, you know? I played on an anvil once, like... It's still percussion and it's fun and beautiful and you get to make up all these sounds and like recreate sounds. But I was gonna say we always sat behind the horns and good lord.
You know what is a really beautiful instrument if played well, like really, really well, is bagpipes.
Yes. There's
this girl I found on Instagram. Her handle is Piper Alley. But she is amazing at bagpipes.
Yeah, I was gonna say my high school, we were the Highlanders, and so you could actually take a class to play the bagpipes because we would have bagpipes in our band, and in our marching band, and they are really beautiful. Everyone's always like, it sounds bad, and I'm like, no, it's a poorly really played pretty.
Bagpipe.
Yeah, that's someone practicing, like, but yeah, bagpipes are beautiful. I would also say. I love the saxophone, especially a jazz saxophone. Well, and
I played sax.
And that's where also brass is not my favorite, but like a trumpet, a good jazz trumpet, really good. Like some Miles Davis,
You know, yeah, like jazz horns.
Yeah.
Or
Real
maybe
good.
like low classical horns.
Yeah.
Just like a peppery.
Uh-huh.
A little flavor, a little pepper horn.
But I would say, I also like to listen to the piano. Piano is beautiful too. Mm-hmm. I cannot play at all beautifully on the piano, but
lame.
Everyone knows that one. That's a pretty good enter. I think we should just go with that.
6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah. Is that what we have to do for Bane and Mickey? 6 seasons, and then a Bane and Mickey movie.
All right. You asked for it. We answered. We're making a movie, guys. You're welcome.
No. Okay. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week. Actually, we've decided because next week would be Thanksgiving weekend, which we can still. We'll figure that out. We'll update you, and if you want to be updated, follow us on Instagram at @BaneandMickey_podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at @BaneandMickey for updates and to stay in the loop.
And don't forget to like, follow, rate, share. Let us know how we're doing. If you like it, tell your friends. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, whatever. Or just go directly to baneandmickeyshow.buzzsprout.com and you'll find all of our episodes there.
All right. Have a good week, everyone. Stay nifty and
get swifty.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.